Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Innovate Finance, our podcast series where we speak to industry leaders on financial innovation and fintech. Our podcasts are available on Spotify, Apple Music, and Google Podcasts. My name is Janine Hurt. I'm CEO at Innovate Finance, and I am delighted to be joined today by Louise Hill, co-founder and CEO at GoHenry, the kids' debit card and financial learning app on a mission to make every kid smart with money. Louise, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Janine. It's great to be here.
So, Louise, you are a real inspiration in the sector, and I'd love to just start by having you telling us a little bit more about your background and your professional journey and what has brought you here.
Well, that could take a very long time. I'll try and keep it short. I guess my background, my professional career began in retail, but fairly swiftly moved across to e-com, just at the point where the retail industry was transitioning to digital. So it was the most fantastic time to be involved in it. And I was lucky enough to be involved in launching the first wave of e-com websites for some of the UK's biggest household names. So including Next Directory, John Lewis, Debenhams, and then some e-com only players like the Innovations Group and Scotts of Stowe. But that meant a huge amount of experience and learning in the online world. And I guess also leading large-scale cross-functional projects and teams, which is something that's stood me in good stead as we've built GoHenry to the size that it is today.
So tell me a little bit about GoHenry and the original idea behind it.
Well, like I think usually all the best ideas, it came about from a need that I saw in the market. Way back in, golly, it would have been probably about 2010, when my kids were around about 7 and 9, 8 and 10. I really ought to work out exactly how old they were. And I was trying to figure out, because they'd had iPods for Christmas or birthdays, just how on earth I was going to teach them that every time they clicked that download button on iTunes, they were actually spending money. And the more that I spoke to other parents, the more I heard stories along a similar vein. So I ended up having a conversation with a number of parents whilst we were stood at the side of a football match that my son was playing in at school, and asking them if they were having the same problem. And all kinds of stories came out about somebody who'd spent £300 on Xbox with downloading something or other for Her Little Pony, and a boy who had managed to buy a real wreck of a car for £600 because he thought it was a model. But basically, we'd all been a little bit foolish and had given our kids access to our credit cards attached to digital things they were using. And I realized there was nothing out there that could help teach my own children and everybody else's how to be good with money. So that was really where it started. And the more I looked into it, there were two other parents from the school who joined with me to try and figure out if we'd found a gap in the market and could build a business from it. But the more we researched into it, the more it made sense. There is a pivotal Cambridge University study that a lot of people refer to that shows that children's financial habits are largely formed by the age of 7, meaning that most young people are already forming core behaviors they take into adulthood, and that then affects the financial decisions that they make for the rest of their lives. So the idea of catching kids young and giving them the tools and the means and the empowerment to learn about money and be confident with it just made so much sense.
And that realization really is staggering about how important it is to reach children early on. And I think I saw some data that says that around 92% of parents say their kids are more money confident since joining GoHenry, which is really fantastic. Tell us a little bit more about the solutions that GoHenry is providing.
Sure. Well, our client base, our customer base is children aged 6 to 18, and obviously their parents too. We're firm believers that money management is a key life skill, and in being a key life skill, it's one a little bit like swimming that is best learned by doing. And it's also really, really important to ensure that what we offer, whilst it has to be relevant to the parents, equally it has to be relevant to Gen Z and Gen Alpha, because if we haven't got buy-in from the kids and the teenagers, then no matter what their parents want, the learning process just fails. And that's why we put so much work into research for our product and design features. We work incredibly closely with our parents and the young customers to really ensure that we get it right for them. And I give you a couple of examples. We have money missions, which are in-app gamified money learning lessons to help instill the theory behind the practice that they gain through using the app and the card. That covers a full curriculum in line with the National Education Guidelines, but in a bite-sized, digestible and fun way, the way that kids want to learn these days. And then cards, we offer, I think it's well over 70 card designs now. And particularly for teenagers, we have a whole range of special teen designs and a different app experience for teenagers, getting teenagers ready to emerge into adulthood. So things like they can have their wages paid. If they have a part-time job, they can have their wages paid direct into their account. They can send and receive money to family and friends. And another example, back in 2020, we launched a range of biodegradable cards, the first of its kind for kids in the UK. And they are really some of our most popular cards. When we did some research, it showed that 78% of GoHenry kids would prefer an eco-friendly bank card and would actively choose one over a plastic one. And of course, now we've moved the vast majority of our cards over to that format, and have to ask the question why some of the larger institutions are not doing the same.
It's a very good question to ask. And actually on this, I'd love to hear more, Louise, about what you feel differentiates GoHenry from other providers in the market. You've explained a lot of it there, but tell us a bit more.
Yeah. Well, when we initially launched, we were the only provider in the market. So differentiating ourselves was simple. In fact, the bigger challenge was explaining to people what we are and why you needed us. But since then, the market has increased, and I think there are more players in the market today. I think we differentiate ourselves through the financial education. It has always been absolutely at the heart of our business, and it was the fundamental reason why I set GoHenry up. We launched to the public in the UK in 2012. So that's the central core. But then also, I think empowering kids to be smart with money is our sole focus. It's not an add-on product for us. It's what we do, and it's what everybody in the company is focused on delivering to the best of their ability. And we now have a company of over 350 employees, and that's why they're here. It's serving Gen Z, Gen Alpha's money needs.
And Louise, you are both co-founder and CEO of GoHenry. So what has your entrepreneurial journey been like so far?
As I said at the start, I started in retail, sort of accidentally transitioned into e-com, and then learned a huge amount because it was an emerging market, and we were all trying to figure out the best way to do this, the best way to serve the customers. And it's been an incredibly fast pace of change. Maybe that prepared me a little bit for launching a startup and then growing at the pace that we have done over the past 10 years. But like most people, I've learned lots from mistakes that I've made. I actually launched an e-com business back in 1998, which we ended up selling to a large retail group 4 years later. But the reason we had to sell it, was we'd not built it for scale. We ran it very successfully. We were turning over, it wasn't huge, but we were turning over about £5 million a year. We were making a profit, but just did not have either the funding or the time internally to step away and go and find more funding. So one thing I swore was when I set up GoHenry that we would make sure we built for scale from day one.
And it's interesting because so many entrepreneurs talk to us about the experiences they've had prior to bring them to a place where they could build such an incredibly successful organization. And so on this front, I know GoHenry was recently acquired by Acorns, which is a really phenomenal moment. Can you tell us a little bit more about the story behind this acquisition and how have things changed for you since then? Any key opportunities or challenges you can share with us?
Yeah, that whole process, we actually started talking to Acorns well over 2 years ago now. And originally were thinking of coming together into a SPAC, something that at the time was fairly new, but gaining in prominence. And then the SPAC market went a little bit wobbly, and we decided maybe we would just step down from that idea and think about it for a little bit longer. And actually, what we decided to do was come back together a bit later. But if I talk a bit about the reasons for coming together with Acorns, it was really just such an incredible alignment of mission. We have always been all about education and teaching children to be smart with money. Acorns is all about education and giving what they term the everyday American, the up and coming, the chance to learn about and have access to investing, easy access investing, starting with roundups, starting with $1 a day, just to get into the habit as young as they can possibly get them in, so that they stay with investing and build a portfolio for their future. And that just aligns so phenomenally well with what we do. And if you think about it, certainly answers a question that I've been asked by just about every investor I've ever spoken to over the last 12 years, which is what happens when they're 18. And likewise for Acorns, we plug a gap in the same way that they plug a gap for us. So now I have the answer. We have I'm rolling my hands around here in a cycle because we've started to talk about a flywheel. But the concept that, let's say you're a child, you have GoHenry, you grow into a teenager, you may migrate across to PixPay. We haven't spoken about them yet, but that's a French company that we acquired last year, who operate across France, Spain, and now Italy as well. And they particularly focus on teenagers. And then you become an adult, and the Acorns products and services are there for you. And then maybe you end up in a partnership. Maybe you're buying a house, more Acorns products are relevant for you. Maybe you have a family, GoHenry is relevant for you again. And so the cycle continues. So the whole vision really is to provide, to deliver financial wellness to the whole family and provide our joint customer base with an opportunity to manage money through every stage of life. And when you look at the geographic locations of the different companies and the size, together, GoHenry, Acorns, and PixPay have nearly 6 million members across 5 different countries. So, it's extended both groups' international reach and created a global company with substantial substantial scale across the US, the UK, and the EU.
It really is such a great story, and it just showcases how those type of relationships can expand out the impact that you have on such a level. It really is fantastic. Louise, let's shift gears here a little bit and talk about technology and processes. And can you tell us a little bit more about the use of data and how you see that interaction between people and technology developing going forward?
Yes, I mean, one of the things we often anchor back to is a statement that we came up with many years ago now. We're built by parents, because I was a parent, and so were the other 2 people who founded the company, for parents and with parents. And I think, that very much applies to how we develop all of the customer journeys. It applies to the kids as well, maybe not the built by kids, although some of our team are very young. We use data throughout what we do. We talk to customers throughout the UX design, with user testing, with focus groups, using data from the member services team in feedback loops. And we bring all of that together to look at where we need to go with the product and to prioritize. And of course, we use data to look at engagement stats, looking to see which of the features and services the customers are really interacting with well, because that always tells you what they want and what they don't want. And we use data at every point of running the business, really, both from the finances and management of the business, but specifically in terms of shaping the direction of travel of the product and the services, because I think it just shows it. If you use the data well, it tells you where you need to go. In terms of interaction between people and technology, I suppose I would say we can all learn from the younger generation's approach to money and the functionality that they demand from their financial service providers. If you think about the younger generation, they are digitally savvy, but they're also digitally underbanked. And I think everyone recognizes the need to engage with that next generation of customers and understands that their needs are different to the previous generation. Again, using some of the data that we have, in 2021, we saw the move towards, countrywide, worldwide, probably, we saw the move towards a cashless society increasing, as yet more time being spent at home drove customers online. But as a result, money management skills and online money management skills are more vital than ever, because fewer transactions are taking place using cash, be that in a retail environment or online. And I think that really means that financial education for kids is an area that more and more fintechs are getting involved in. And I'm excited to see how that translates into tangible results for young people. I think if we look at how children and teenagers use the services and how they interact with the technology, personalization is key. It's picking up pace. One size does not fit all. One of the things we tell people when they join GoHenry, we ask them how many different groups of customers they think they're going to have to deal with, and most people say, well, parents and kids. And we all say no, because think about a six-year-old, and now think about a 16-year-old. So we actually talk about 4 groups of customers. That's 6 to 10, 10 to 14, 14 plus, and the parents. And we really have to tailor the product and services, the look and feel, the language that we use, absolutely the money missions, that they're different by age group. Everything has to be personalized to the right age and stage. And then drilling down, even if you take the 6 to 10 age group, the kids expect personalization. They want to be able to put their own skins on the app. They want to be able to choose their own avatars. They want to be able to move tiles around to have the home screen as they want it. And I think what's really interesting in the customer base that we look after is seeing those requirements, because they are, and expectations evolve, and see them becoming more and more demanding in their expectation of services. And if you think about the generations that GoHenry is now dealing with, they've grown up with an app for everything. Mm-hmm. And that's what they expect. So our job is to make sure when they fly the nest from GoHenry and hopefully onto Acorns, they're independent and confident about their money management skills. But I also think there is a real message there for adult banking services and adult financial services. There's a need to play catch up, because we've created a visibility of finances and an immediacy of that visibility as well, that the younger generation simply expect now when they transition into adulthood.
So in the same way that we're seeing consumers' behavior shift and the demands shift, we're also seeing a pretty significant shift in terms of the talent pool. And I know this is something we've talked about before. I mean, how does GoHenry attract and retain good talent? And what do you think people can do to drive change and be proud of what they do as well?
That's a good question. I was and I am really proud of the culture that we've built at GoHenry. And I think part of the journey between launching the company and the stage that we're at now, there've been a couple of points where we've had to really step back and realize that the pace that we were growing was presenting a challenge to that culture, and that we had to stop and do something to keep the culture and the ethos of the company intact. And one of the things we did, trying to think how long ago it was now, probably about 6 years ago, was to stop and initially with the senior management team, try to think about and articulate, at least in some way, what mattered to us as a company. Not just the mission statement, that's been there forever, but actually what mattered about how we presented ourselves, how we showed up at work, how we worked with each other, how we interacted, what we believed in. And we put that out to the rest of the business and said, would anybody else like to get involved? And I can remember at the time we'd thought we'd perhaps hold 2 sessions with anybody who put their hands up, one in London, one in our Farnborough offices where our member services team are based. And at the time, almost everybody in the company wanted to be involved. It was amazing, but it did mean we had to do 3 sessions in London and 3 sessions in Farnborough. But what we did was produce probably the only physical product other than a card from GoHenry is the little red book of GoHenry. And that lays out our work principles. And it's something we weave into the recruitment process when we recruit someone. It's something we weave into their onboarding and their first 90 days process. It's something all of our any sort of bonus or reward or OKR or target setting is linked around those work principles. And actually we also took them through all of our customer contact points. So looking at how we talk to customers, when we talk to customers, what those interactions look like. And that, I think, has made a big difference. But you asked about how do you empower people? How do you make them want to be proud, to drive change, proud of what they do? I've always been a firm believer that the best way to learn is by doing. So, you know, that was very much part of the ethos in the very first shape of the product. It was a real card that kids could use in real shops. It wasn't a game or something online. So learning by doing, being bold and having a go, and that's where the go comes from in our name. So while we say the best way to teach kids money management is to trust and empower them, giving them the freedom to go and have a go, that ethos we carry over into the culture. And that's what we look for in people we hire and partner companies that we work with. So one of the work principles is dare to fail. And it is really trying to say to people, have a go, try it. You know, if you have a great idea, be scrappy, get something together, test it, have a go. If it fails, learn from it. Yeah, so we know that didn't work, but what might? And you know, that for one, it helps drive change, it helps drive pace, and it gives people a real sense of purpose and pride in what they're doing.
And then he's talking about having a go. I know you are very passionate about driving greater diversity and inclusion across the sector. Is there any programs or any initiatives that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I guess we don't have we're not a big corporate, so we don't have a massive HR people team leading great big initiatives. But I think if I go back to the previous question you asked about culture, we I firmly believe representation is key. I often get asked about women in finance or women in tech. Much wider than that. Representation is key. It's massively important that people see people who look like them at the place they work. And I guess I would also say at this point, diversity, when people talk about diversity, it's anything that makes you unique. It's both the visible and the invisible. But for me, the best way to encourage that is to create a truly inclusive environment so that any member of the team, whatever their background might be, they feel comfortable being themselves, and they truly believe they can bring their authentic self to work. So we do some things. We run equity, diversity, and inclusion training sessions with everybody as part of their 90-day onboarding. We offer a fully flexible working culture. It's funny, I was talking to a friend about this at the weekend, where the company where she works, which will remain nameless, supposedly has a flexible working culture, but is not prepared to allow her to leave work at 4 o'clock, sign off at 4 o'clock on a Thursday, and sign back on again at 6.
Oh.
That apparently is impossible. And I should say it's not a customer facing role. Little bit bizarre to me that wouldn't be okay. So we offer a truly fully flexible working culture, so parents and carers can juggle their personal commitments. Somebody needs to let the dog out. Why would that be a problem? Why would that be a problem? We offer flexible public holidays. So if you are of one religion and the UK happens to have Easter Sunday off, if you want to bank Easter Sunday, work it and use that for another day, you're absolutely welcome to. And we put a lot of effort into our people team run what they call a manager's toolkit, where there is a lot of resources for all members of the team, actually, and managers, talking about different religions and beliefs, so that we make sure there is an understanding of how best to support colleagues at different times of the year. But and I suppose also where we advertise, when we're trying to attract diverse groups when we're recruiting. So we do advertise on platforms like Black Young Professionals Network. We work with universities who have large student groups of underrepresented groups. Some of those kind of positive affirmation actions that if you keep working away at them, make a difference.
Well, Louise, and finally, I think this has been a really great conversation in terms of thinking about the impact that you're having and how you drive such a positive team as well. Finally, in terms of go, what's next for GoHenry? Is there any more exciting news that you can share?
I always end up with a question about the secret sauce, and I obviously can't tell you that. What an amazing stat that I do keep repeating this because it amazes me every time I say it. An amazing stat I got told, it's 2 or 3 months ago now, but in the UK, 1 in 5 kids aged 10 to 12 in the UK has got a GoHenry card. And that is amazing. Yeah. Massively exciting. It is unbelievable when I think where we started 10 years ago. But our mission statement is to make every kid smart with money, and we have a long way to go before we reach every kid. So we are always working on new features and improvements to make sure we're meeting the needs of kids, teens, and their parents. Lots of exciting things to come. The coming together with Acorns really allows us to look at evolving our products in the UK and expanding them outwards. But nothing I can share with you in detail right now.
Well, Louise, thank you so much. And I am really excited for the next chapter of GoHenry as well. Thank you for sharing your story. And listeners, thank you very much for tuning in. And please do keep an eye out for our upcoming episodes. All our podcasts are available on our website at innovatefinance.com. And for more insights, please do visit our site. Thank you, everyone at home, for listening, and join us for the next Coffee with Innovate Finance soon. Bye for now.